Now, I know you don't think Love is Blind is going to come to DC, and I'm not going to spotlight it. Let's talk about these first six episodes.
In the dim light, in the spotlight, 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 in the dim light, in the dim light, in the dim light, in the dim light.
What's up,
Don't listen to
everybody?
Billy,
Welcome
he's a
to the
hypocrite.
Parker's Couch. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, and let's get down to it. Love is Blind is back, season 7, and we are in Washington, D.C. Let's get it, get it. I've been excited for this episode. My friends and I, we had a watch party for this. We watched the first 3 episodes there together, then we watched them all separately. And the group chat was going down like fire over these first 6 episodes. The next releases are going to come out Wednesday, and I know we're all waiting. So I found some time finally to get on the mic and share some quick thoughts of what I think about the couples who have made it thus far. So I'm just going to go through the 7 couples who paired up and share some thoughts with you. Let's go. Let's kick it off with 33-year-old quantum physicist Garrett and 30-year-old clean energy policy consultant Taylor. Now, these were the first 2 couples to get engaged, and they started off really good, y'all. I was like, this is going to be one of my favorite couples on the show. I think already Garrett had me at being a physicist. My child is right now in college, and the major is what? Physics. So I'm like, sold. Taylor, beautiful woman. Just great vibe, everything. And their conversations were just magic. I was like, wow, and y'all actually look good together. It's like y'all belong together. Now, all of this changed in the pods for me whenever Taylor starts to bring up her ethnicity and expressing how she doesn't want to share it because she doesn't want perceptions of her to change necessarily. And, I'm paraphrasing and how she said it. And immediately, what happened? Garrett changed. He started flipping out. It really, like, you could see him like literally sweating on the other side. He's like, I've only dated white girls. Um, you not sharing this ethnicity or whatever. He started calling her calculated. You're a very smart person, and everything you do seems calculated. And now I'm wondering, what else are you hiding? Hiding? Because I didn't share my ethnicity with you? Like, he made her feel bad for not being a white girl, and as if she was deceiving him. And he was trying to clean it up in all these ways, but no, you don't let it all out. We see your face, we know what you think. And Taylor, I was like, girl, um, I don't care how good we was vibing. I would have been out the door. But you could see he's probably thinking like, "Oh my gosh, I've been connecting with this girl. I want to stay on this show. I want to go through this experience. What I'm going to do? What is happening?" And I'm looking at Taylor and I'm like, "Girl, where's your self-respect?" Um Yeah, I know you probably have been through a lot, how people have judged you. That's what happens. That's what happens to us whenever you're not a white person. You get judged. You get eliminated by some people right away. We all know this. That's life. And you're thinking this experience is going to be different because love is blind, right? You can't see what I look like. But that would have been an immediate red flag for me. But nevertheless, they keep on going, and they try to clean it up. It's like they have a confessional with him before they meet each other, and he tries to clean it up or whatever. They meet each other, and he seems to be head over heels for her. I don't know, but they're kissing, and they were making out a lot in that first little meet up. It was a little much. I'm like, okay, are y'all gonna have a conversation? But he was just all over her, kissing her and stuff. But they go on a trip, and they're the only couple that hasn't had sex. Hmm. So my mind keeps going back to this conversation, obviously. And if this is a bridge that he's trying to get over, And if he's really, because he makes another comment too, like about how it's amazing how this woman who's someone, if we were in a bar, who I would never approach, like that's a problem. I don't know. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I know there's still a popular couple. People are really rooting for them. Now at this point, I really don't care kind of what happens to them, because I just been turned off ever since that ethnicity conversation. And everyone that happened afterward, it just, it doesn't seem to hold weight to me. So they're kind of done in my eyes. We'll see. I feel like they probably will go down the aisle. The trailer looks like they have some issues that's about to come up with him talking to an ex-girlfriend or something. So that should be super interesting to see what happens. But Taylor, I like your vibe, but girl, now let's move to Tyler and Ashley. Now, this is a favorite couple for many people out there. Tyler is a 34-year-old account manager, and Ashley is a 32-year-old marketing director. Now, their stories are really cute, and I think Netflix really played this up. The show them like really bonding. We meet Ashley as someone who, really is looking forward to marriage, and she talks about her parents divorce, and she really wants something real, all these things. We even find out later in Cabo how she's been celibate, and the reasons why she's been celibate and stuff, and how she really wants to give herself to someone. We meet Tyler, and he is a super emotional guy. Someone, and so there's a lot of emotions by the way this season. We see there's is a pretty heavy pod season with Love is Blind. But he really seems like a good natured guy. He loves cooking. That's something that she checked off, and they vibed over. They seem to have all the things they like together, like all these adventurous things, and just it's just so many things in common. I thought they had one of the cutest dates I've ever seen on Love Is Blind, with the listening to R&B music in the headphones and sharing that. That was super cute. I thought his engagement was nice, how he did that and shared an emotional note with her and got down on one knee. He shared a story about his suburban mom, like he's mixed race, and his mom is from Serbia, and how she was disowned from her family for marrying, or having a child outside of her race, and how hard it was for her growing up and all those things. Sharing that stuff, it was some really nice connection in there in the pods. I'm still holding, like, when Netflix sets you up when things seem too good to be true, and I'm just like, so what is gonna go down? I feel like there was like one minor moment that they had kind of in Mexico that made me kind of raise my eyebrow, when he was said something to the effect of how, I'm glad you met me now, like in this point in my life, or like how I'm glad we're meeting now because how you wouldn't have liked me before. Would have been like, this guy's mean or whatever, anything like that. So, this little minor thing that might be setting up there in the DC streets, y'all. I'm gonna just tell you what the DC streets allegedly are saying. They're saying that this man has 3 kids, and he left his ex-fiance, or not left, he was engaged but cheated on his ex-fiance. Now, I don't know. I'm just the messenger. That's what the blogs, that's what the people are saying. And people are coming out saying, like, yeah, that's my classmate and da da da. But that's what they're trying to say around here in the DMV, that man got kids, y'all, and he scrubbed them off of social media for this thing. But I don't know. We shall see. Seems like they're going to be having some moments in them upcoming trailers, because she said something like 2 weeks before the wedding, like, I should have known this. I don't know if that's something being revealed or what's there. Maybe y'all know a bit more than me, who have done some investigating to see if some of this is true. But they are a really, really, really cute couple. And she gives me actually some DC vibes. Like, I don't catch a lot of DC vibes from people in here, but she gives me some in the way that she dresses. I feel like DC has its own little fashion scene. Like, I think they think they're more fashionable than what they are, but that's just me. But I thought some of the it wasn't very popular in our group with one person, and you know who I'm talking about if you listening to this, my friend. You wanted her to take off that brown outfit, I know, or take off that coat at least. And I thought that little zip up situation or the non zipper pants there, that V shape was kind of cute or whatever. Yeah, I like them. They have a good vibe. But we will see what happens. Okay. Steven and Monica. Whew. All right. Steven is a 34-year-old electrician, and Monica is a 37-year-old sales executive. Now, where to even begin with this couple? So, I thought they had a nice vibe that was going on in the pods, but then the conversations just got weird to me. So, this being in DC, of course, you're going to get in some political conversations. And this season has a lot more to do about race than a lot of the other seasons have. And I do appreciate the blackness within your class, within your cast. I will say that. And just the just color that is represented all around. But Steven, we'll start with his side first. He shares about how he learned he had some black in him and how his grandma for all the years would always say that that they were Italian. But then he did that little ancestry.com or one of them 23andMe's, one of them things, and he found out all this West African kind of heritage, a lot of it in there. And so immediately he goes out and buys all these book on West African culture and stuff and shares with his dad and da 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 da, because this is from his daddy's side. Um, and Monica was head over heels about that. She thought it was the cutest thing. She always brings it up about, oh, he's so happy to be 3/5 black. This boy said I'm 3/5 black. He said 3/5. Y'all. I'm just let that sit there. But she's like, he's so happy that he got a little bit of black. I just think that was so cute. How whenever you found out you got a little bit of black, da 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 da. On the flip side, she shares about how she grew up not knowing what box to check. One hand, you got this man who grew up all his life not knowing he had some black in him. When I'm like, sir, have you ever looked in the mirror? You think that hair is Italian? You up here looking like Blake Griffin. I don't. I mean, no. It reminds me. I used to have someone I knew in church growing up, not growing up, but in college. I'm gonna leave his name out of here. But he clearly had some black in him. And we used to always say that, and he used to get so mad. He's like, I'm a white boy. I'm white. No, you got some black in you. That curly hair don't come from nothing. But he reminds me of him. I just had to think about that. But Monica is like, yeah, my mom is Honduras, I think from Honduras. And my dad is black, but I didn't know what box to check. And then he calls her a mutt. And she's like, yeah, I'm a mutt. I'm like, is this conversation really happening, y'all? What is going on here? Whoo. Then we find out that he voted for Trump in the first election against Hillary because he was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't like Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's Hillary. So then I'm like, okay, you hate strong women. So I don't know how this is going to work because Monica's a strong woman. But then he proceeds to say the next election he voted for Biden. And he feels like that was his most educated, like kind of election or whatever. Then, like he was having an educated vote before and stuff. And he's like, his dad is Republican, and da 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 da. So I'm like, blah blah blah. I go, whatever. That's neither here nor there at this point. But it's just another red flag to put on the mantle. They get engaged. I thought their first meeting was pretty strange to me. Now, some people might find this cute and everything, but the way that he was looking at her and talking, it just came off like this babyish kind of way, and it was just kind of annoying to me. And the way he stares and was like all up in her, but then she's like looking at him, and you could tell she's not as into him as he's into her. Um, and but she's like playing it off. I kind of got the feel for her. And she even made statements when they're in Mexico about how he's not the hottest guy, but he's the hottest guy to me, type thing. Okay. It's like she's trying to convince herself more and more. They have an interesting conversation in Mexico whenever after the event when they was all hanging out and he's going off talking, 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 and she's just pretty much like shut the up. Like, gosh, can I get a word in? Like he already told her previously, he's a chatty guy. Like he's chatty, chatty, chatty. Now a lot of people have been coming down hard on Monica for this. Um, Monica's not my favorite. I'll tell you that. Like, I think she's a stunning girl. I think she is trying to convince herself to be with Steven because she keeps referring to about how he's not like her normal type. She normally goes for status and he's an electrician and normally cares about what school people went to, but he went to a 2-year college. Like she's doing all these things and it's like she's trying to convince herself, and she's kind of that girl that's been, cares about more about appearances and what people have, you know. So that vibe I don't really gel with anyway. But a lot of people coming down hard for her on this conversation, but I kind of agree with her because a lot of these men are chatty. I feel like in the pod situation, the men were dominating conversations. I'm like, can the women talk? Can they get a word in anywhere? I felt like it was just the men, men, men. So I don't blame her. It was probably getting annoying at this point. And if this man is constantly talking, 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 at some point you got to check him. I don't care who your mate is. Like, if you're talking too much, you're talking too much. But I know some people was like, no, don't do that to Steven. He's so sweet. Da 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 da. I don't know. I don't really see it for them. I would kind of be surprised. I would be. And it seems like from the previews, it sounds for the next set of things, it seems like he's the one that starts to get a little bit of cold feet. But we shall see. Okay. Tim and Alexandria. Here we go, y'all. Tim is a 33-year-old web content strategist, and Alex, is a 33-year-old producer. And they fell in love in the pods. I honestly feel like it was trauma bonding. The stories were very sad, but with Tim and his sisters dying, and but he talked about it over and over and over and over again. Even had it as part of the proposal. He even gave her a bracelet of his deceased sister. And which you don't even know this is somebody you're gonna marry for real. I feel like that should have been something left on down the road. It's a lot of crying and that sort of bonding. I felt like I didn't really learn a lot about Alex in the pods because I felt like Tim was really dominating conversation and how I don't know. It was just a lot of stuff from his childhood, y'all. It was just heavy. Nonetheless, they look good together. I thought I was like, oh, okay, y'all actually, I could see y'all kind of working. Their kind of meeting was kind of cool, and he thought she was super attractive and stuff, and it seemed like I couldn't really get a reading of her, but when we get to Mexico, the whole time, like there was not an argument per se with them, but I could tell that she was getting annoyed. And I feel like he was just really annoying her. and something just seemed like up with her, like with him. And this whole dog thing that he's doing, maybe one of y'all can explain the dog thing. It is annoying, but I don't know if it's annoying for it to be as big of a deal that it was becoming, and you could tell how much it was bothering her. I don't get it. I don't get that whole thing anyway. But they had this big blow up at the end of episode 6, which I know we're all dying to see what happens, where you can tell like they mm, it was really thick, where she was revealing about how basically she was feeling homesick and all these things, and that's why she was shutting down and didn't open up. But whenever they were trying to have a conversation about everything, Tim, points out about how she put her hands over his mouth to stop him from talking. And then he talks about her calling him out of his name. And he was like, I came back in here with every intention for this to be our last conversation. And she's doing these things like move closer to me. He's like, no, I'd rather not. And but she moves closest to him. And I was like, ooh, that's annoying. He just said, I'd rather not move closer to you, but you're gonna move closer to him. And he's over it at this point. Everything in his face is like, I'm over it. I feel like she called him a bitch ass ninja or something, or she called him a B of some sort. Who knows? Netflix, we want the tape. We want the audio. We want the video. We want all things to know what happened in this conversation. But he seems clearly over it. I would be surprised if they walked down the aisle at this point by just his demeanor, because even given that we don't know the situation, we got to kind of make it up. If it was something that wasn't that bad, I'm not saying that it was. If it Either way, I'm looking at it from all perspectives. If it was something that wasn't that bad, would you want to be with somebody who just kind of gives up and doesn't have a conversation? Because one thing I didn't like was him talking about how I don't argue. It's like, I don't argue, I don't argue, I never do this, I never do this with anyone. It just puts the onus all on the other person, like you're making me behave a certain way. No, you're always in control of your own behaviors. So I didn't like that part and stuff coming from him. Um, but we don't know also what she did. If she did do something disrespectful, because honestly, I could see it. Because I saw that kind of building and coming. Like just the way she was acting, she just had this kind of annoyed of him vibe going on. So I'd be surprised. Where we at now? Let's go, Nick and Hannah. Okay, so Nick is a 29-year-old who works in real estate, and Hannah is the youngest member of the pods at 26 who works in medical device sales. Y'all don't put this, y'all don't need these young people on here. That's all I'm going to say. Their whole thing, their whole build up, they were both lying about themselves. They were lying about how good they look. I mean, they're not ugly people, but good lord, they were stretching the imagination. Hannah's all like, how, I was the cheerleader who always dated the quarterback, and people always, you know, they they like me for the way I look and all these things. And y'all see Hannah now too, by the way. Hannah, what are you on, girl? You are She keeps going down and down and down, it seems, but you look great. I ain't gonna lie, you look great right now in these newest pictures of you that I've seen, but that ain't the same Hannah that's on the show. But anyway, she's giving that vibe. Nick is like, oh, I'm this football player, but you're nothing but a kicker, a punter. I mean, and he's like, oh, I look like Travis Kelsey, and okay, this he's has this whole kind of suave kind of vibe about him. And she's saying to herself, like, I feel like something isn't right. She starts like questioning him, like, why are you on this show? It seems like the way you talk, you could get any kind of person out there. Like, why are you here? He kind of throws that back at her too. Like, I could say the same about you, the way you talk. That sounds like y'all are both overinflating who you are with each other in these pods, where I feel like they didn't get to any authentic kind of moment. But then here we are with all these I love yous and they get engaged and blah blah blah. Their first meeting was interesting because you could tell she thought he was not cute. And he sees her and he's like, "Oh, you're tall." Like she's a little bit taller than him. And that seems like not to be her thing because apparently she broke it off with one other dude in the pods whenever she found out he was 5'8" and she's 5'9" or whatever. And I feel like Nick might be 5'8" or something too. I'm not really sure. But, she even makes a comment about how, he talks about being a football player. I expected someone a little bit bigger and stuff. And she was like, he kind of lied about who he is, and you could tell she wasn't exactly happy and she started being a little bit insecure because she's not a big girl, but she was just a little bit thicker and she, felt insecure about that, which I thought her body type looked just fine. That was there. So in Mexico though, I mean, in Mexico, I felt like Nick was fine. Hannah, on the other hand, was doing a lot. There's this scene where there's these ducks outside of the resort or wherever they're staying. And he's like, "Oh, let's go ride the ducks." And she's like, "No." She's like, "You do that, it's gonna give me the ick." Girl, you're 26. Like, where's the fun? Like, I just get out there and have fun. Get outside of yourself. But she's being, you know, kind of protective. He gets on it anyway. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna do it." And then this older lady comes up and he starts, talking with her, and they end up racing together on the ducks. And she's clearly annoyed by this. And the older lady sees it too, and she's like, "Oh," she's like, she's mad. She's like, and she yells over there, like, "Don't be jealous." Da, da, da. She says something to the effect, but don't be jealous, blah, 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 blah. Hannah is like really pissed over this situation. Number one, she's like, "I already told you not to go over there. It's gonna give me the ick." Number two, she's like, "You let this person disrespect me." When she retells the story to the girls, she throws in all this stuff about how the girl called her a B and da 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 da. I'm like, she ain't say none of that. I don't unless Netflix cut out some of the conversation. She totally inflated the conversation that went down. Nick reveals that whenever they got back to the apartment, she had like a list of 10 things that's pretty much that she's questioning about him, stuff like maturity and, you know, can it all these question marks. And that she put it out there, for him to see, you know, calling him delusional and stuff. And he's like, "I'm not the only one that's delusional," pretty much. And I thought that was quite accurate. The comment scenes, one of the lines she said that really annoyed me in the coming episodes when they're having an argument, and she tells him how I turned you from a boy to a man. You, excuse me? This attitude of like you're raising a man, first of all, or like you're raising somebody, and you're a 26-year-old, and you're gonna tell me that, like you turn me into a boy to a man. I hope he walked right on out that door. I would have been like, "That's it. That's all I need to hear." So I gotta see how that conversation came up. Honestly, I hope they don't go down the aisle. I feel like 26 is way too young anyway. And I in 2025 or 2024 to be getting married. But that's just me in my opinion. But we'll see what happens there. I'm definitely was getting the ick myself over them. Number six, let's go to Ramses and Marissa. All right, y'all. Now, I people might not agree with me, but this is actually my favorite couple. I don't know how it became this way, especially after Marissa revealed how she dated a Trump supporter before, and she dated someone liberal, trying to say how she balances all these things. I was like, "Ooh," I got the it by that, and I had to do some research. And if what they say is true on Reddit and all these things, and people who know her be like, they were like, "Oh, she dated this guy who turned into a Trump supporter or whatever. Whenever he ran during that first term, they were dating before he ran. He started running, and became a Trump supporter. So if that happened, that's a little different vibe. I don't know." But anyway, she's in this little love triangle with Ramses and Bowden, Boden, I forget whatever his name was, the Ukrainian guy. And I didn't know which way she was gonna go at first. So the Ukrainian gentleman, they had the bond of the military and stuff. Um, so he's telling his story about going to fight for the Ukraine. I had somebody in our party rolling our eyes. I couldn't even be mad because we know how the Ukraine do black people. And what the streets are saying out there about Mr. Ukrainian soldier is some alleged stuff out there about you too, and marching for the neo-Nazi type unit or anything. But we know how they get down out there. But anyway, they are vibing over their military thing, and they're having great conversation. And I thought their vibe was really cute and nice. Ramses, when he comes into play, I'm like, oh, okay. I really enjoyed their connection. Like, it's like they could be journaling buddies. Like, they both could have their journals right out there. They're both into, that whole energy, meditation kind of vibe. They really connected on a intimate level more so than I think her and the Ukrainian guy. And I felt like their conversations were better. They were actually having like wonderful conversations about gender roles, and just thought it was just deeper conversations, I felt like. And she ends up choosing Ramses. They are both very happy with each other when they see each other, and they are getting it on like some rabbits. I'm like, all right, y'all better do it. Y'all better do it. They are very open about their sets and very open about how they feel. And she's saying it was good. She found out he was a Cancer Leo, and she could not be happier when she found that out. I think they look really good together. I love their energy. We'll see. We'll see if it gets what happens and builds with them, because there's a moment that we see in the clips coming up where Ukrainian guys, you know how they bring people back, and when they all meet at some mitzvah. And so whenever she gets to meet the Ukrainian guy for the first time, and it seems like Ramses, the way they cut it, wasn't feeling kind of their conversations, because I think she said something like, "Do you think I'm cute?" and da 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 da. I don't know about y'all, but I could honestly see this being a throuple. And I think Ramses and Ukrainian guy are a little bit sexually fluid. I just get that vibe. I don't know if y'all get that vibe, but when Mr. Ukrainian came back the second day in the pods and had on them short shorts, I'm like, okay, I know them short shorts around the DMV mean. I'm just saying. It seemed like his open. And Ramses he just gives you that vibe. Like, he just gives you that energy. Like, he's like a go with the flow person, and he seems like he'd be connected to people. So I don't know if y'all want to think about that, but that'd be something I would watch. I watch that throuple going on. I think y'all that would be hot. Actually, y'all are all very good looking people. So that would be interesting, but that's just my opinion. And last and definitely least, let's talk about Leo. and Miss Brittany. Now, Leo is a 31-year-old art dealer, and Brittany is a 33-year-old. She says, "I do skincare, and I lead beach cleanups." But esthetician, they tried to dress it up for her. That was the funniest thing. Now, they spent the most time with them. And then with this whole trio, because Leo was into Hannah and Brittany, they spent so much time on these couples. Leo is all about his money. He came into money early because I mean his grandparents died of cancer. His I think mom and dad died of cancer, and then his step parent died of cancer. So he inherited the business and stuff early as an art dealer. So he was like, I'm blessed to be 30 years old and not have to worry about money. Like he's went to lesson known how he's been to, grew up in private schools and country clubs, and he's showing Rolexes and giving all this stuff. And then he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be all about money," but that's all he talks about is money and how much he has. And yeah, he just gives you the ick all the way around. This guy was so annoying. I feel like he needs to be tested, like he's on the spectrum somewhere, because he was giving a little bit of that, like he actually could be on the spectrum or something. Um, and that's not a bad thing, just so you know. I'm not saying it like that as a negative thing, but he was given that. Brittany, on the other hand, was given very your classic, I guess what you would think about as your stereotypical blonde if you think not smart and da da da. And he actually told her, you know, I'm sure people think you're not smart, but I know you are. And she's like, yeah. She's like how she's used to being, excuse me, taken care of 100%. They have a conversation about that. And he was like, he doesn't believe in 50-50, but he also doesn't believe in like 100%. Like it could be like 80-20 or whatever. Or, if he's making more, he's going to do more. But he doesn't believe in like this whole complete taking care of. And she's like, well, my past partners, and it's like they took care of me 100%. She's like, that's what she want. She's like, I don't cook. I don't nobody don't ask me about no cooking. One guy asked about cooking. He was like, what's the last thing you made? She said, maybe a smoothie. But oh gosh, she just gives you all the stereotypical. She called herself a trophy wife. That's all you need to know. They go through this whole battle, this whole love triangle thing. Leo's blowing up on Hannah whenever she wants to be with Nick, and then Brittany becomes his second choice, but he's trying to make her feel like she's not a second choice. She goes in there and has this whole like letter. She's like, it's the longest letter I've ever written in my life. If my friends saw this, they'd be like, I know this didn't come from you. And she proceeds to read it and starts crying and then all this stuff and about how much he hurt her feelings. He shuts all that down, says some corny poem, and proposes to her. And she's like, yes. But then when they meet each other, that was the funniest. Because she's like, good Lord, what have I done? And I read an interview from her later. And she actually said she was going through her mind like this is a mistake whenever they were having that first meeting. And whenever he got down on his knee to propose to her, she was thinking to herself, this is a mistake. She couldn't say I love you. She asked him like why does he love her, and he gives all these reasons, and then he asks her the same question, and she just looks at him and like it's so much pressure. And she says something, the most corniest thing too. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it has something not to do with love, really. Not a characteristic of something. But she couldn't come up with anything. She was quite uncomfortable. And in her confessional, she literally says, what have I done? Like, did I make a mistake here? Long story short, they do not go to Mexico. So I had to look that up. I'm like, why are they not in Mexico? Because the Netflix follows, and Netflix only follows 5 or 6 couples. So not every couple gets followed, and they had 7 couples to be engaged this time. But even the producers, for what I was reading, they said they go with the ones they think are the most authentic. And so they already saw it with that. And it was like with her being the only person not to say I love you, back, and they knew they didn't believe it was gonna be right. Like they could have went to Mexico still on their own, but they decided to go to Miami. They could have went not been followed by the cameras, but they went to Miami and they had a whole trip and stuff there. And I think they spent some time in LA too. They both say they had a good time and stuff together, but Brittany said it was just nothing physical there. There was just no connection. Duh. There was obviously no connection. And she was like, let me go get this free trip on this rich man or supposedly rich man real quick. And they don't make it. So, surprise, surprise. But I want to know, what do y'all think? Who are y'all favorite couples? Who do you think is going to make it or not make it? What do you think about anything that I said about any of these couples or what stood out to y'all? I'm just excited for this next round to come out this Wednesday and let the madness continue.